My wife Mia just told me it is just money. Henry, we can make more later. Don't you want me to be happy? When I confronted her about the $47,000 that mysteriously appeared in our joint account. Turns out she has been having an affair with some wealthy businessman named Aaron, and she signed up for a surrogacy program behind my back. I found out 3 hours ago, and I am still sitting in my car outside a Starbucks because I cannot bring myself to go home yet. I am Henry, 32, software engineer in Seattle. Mia and I have been married for about 1.5 years. We used to have what I thought was a perfect relationship, you know, the kind where you actually look forward to coming home from work. We had talked about buying a house, maybe starting a family. God, I feel so stupid typing that now. But here is the thing: about 8 months ago, my company went under. Just gone. Bankruptcy. I woke up one Tuesday morning with a job, and by Friday afternoon I was $80,000 in debt and completely unemployed. It was like getting hit by a freight train I never saw coming. That is when everything started changing with Mia at first. She was supportive, or at least I thought she was. But then came the little comments. Henry, you just cannot seem to manage things like I thought you would. Or my personal favorite. Maybe you should have seen this coming if you were really paying attention to your career. I started working overtime wherever I could find freelance gigs, pulling 60, 80-hour weeks, just to keep us afloat. Meanwhile, Mia kept going to her spa appointments, her girls' nights at expensive restaurants, charging everything to our credit card. When I tried to talk to her about cutting back, she would get this look, like I was being unreasonable for suggesting we couldn't afford $200 dinners anymore. 3 weeks ago, I noticed these weird spending patterns. Money going out, then larger amounts coming in. When I asked her about it, she said her marketing job gave her a bonus. Then last week, she started getting texts at weird hours, like 2 a.m. texts, that she would quickly hide when I walked into the room. I am not proud of this, but yesterday morning, after she left for work, I went through our bank statements. That is when I found a deposit for $15,000 from something called Pacific Northwest Fertility Solutions. My blood just stopped moving. So I did what any reasonable person would do and completely lost my mind. I called the number on the statement. Turns out, my wife had enrolled in their surrogacy program 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks. The woman on the phone was very professional and explained that Mrs. Carter had completed her initial consultation and medical screening, and the intended parents were very pleased with her profile. Intended parents. My wife is carrying someone else's baby for money. But wait, it gets even better. I was still reeling from that bombshell when I decided to check our credit card statements online. That is when I found the hotel charges. 4 different luxury hotels in the past month, always on days when Mia said she was working late or having girls' night. You are not going to believe what happened next. I called one of the hotels, the Fairmont Olympic, and asked if they could tell me about the reservation under my wife's name from last Tuesday. The desk clerk was hesitant at first, but when I explained I was her husband, and there might be a billing error, she said, "Oh yes, Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood were such a lovely couple. They upgraded to our penthouse suite." Mr. and Mrs. Blackwood. So now I am sitting here 3 hours later, after the most surreal conversation of my entire life. When I confronted Mia, she didn't even try to deny it. She didn't even look guilty. She just looked at me like I was being dramatic and said, "Henry, Aaron is helping us get out of debt, and the surrogacy money will cover the rest. It is just money. Don't you want me to be happy? Just money." This woman looked me in the eye and basically told me she is prostituting herself to a married businessman. Oh yeah, I looked him up. Aaron Blackwood, 45, married with 3 kids, owns a chain of luxury car dealerships, and carrying his baby for cash. And I am supposed to be grateful because it solves our financial problems. I asked her how long this has been going on. She said 2 months. 2 months of lying to my face. 2 months of me working myself to death, trying to fix our finances while she was. God. I cannot even finish that sentence. When I asked her if she loved him, she actually rolled her eyes and said, "Henry, grow up. This isn't about love. This is about security." I am sitting in this parking lot and I keep replaying that conversation. The way she said it so casually, like she was explaining why she chose a different brand of laundry detergent. No guilt, no remorse, just irritation that I wasn't immediately on board with her plan. So Reddit, what the hell do I do here? Part of me wants to drive straight to a divorce lawyer, but another part of me keeps thinking maybe I am overreacting. Like, we are drowning in debt. She found a solution, even if it is completely insane, and involves cheating on me with a married man. Am I crazy for feeling like my entire world just imploded? Is this something marriages can recover from? Or should I just accept that the woman I married apparently never existed in the first place? Update 1, she is pregnant. It is not mine. And Aaron's wife just called me. I went home that night, and Mia was acting like absolutely nothing had changed. She had ordered Thai food, our favorite, and was sitting on the couch watching Netflix like it was just another Tuesday. When I walked in, she looked up and said, "Oh good, you are home. I got the pad thai you like." I just stared at her. This woman had just told me she was cheating on me and carrying another man's baby for money, and she is talking about pad thai. I told her I had spoken to a lawyer. You want to know what she said, Henry? Don't be dramatic. We can work this out like adults, like I was the one being unreasonable. That is when she dropped the next bomb. Besides, she said, I am already 8 weeks along. The money is going to help us start fresh. 8 weeks pregnant. 8 fucking weeks. I did the math in my head. That means she got pregnant right around the time I was pulling all-nighters trying to find us a way out of debt. While I was literally losing sleep over our financial situation, she was getting knocked up by her sugar daddy. But wait, it gets so much better. 3 days ago, I am at my new freelance gig. Yeah, I finally found some decent contract work when my phone rings. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Is this Henry Carter? Yes. Who is this? This is Rebecca Blackwood. I believe you know my husband, Aaron, you guys. I thought I was gonna throw up right there in the middle of the office. Aaron's wife knew. She knew. Rebecca told me she had hired a private investigator after noticing irregularities in Aaron's behavior. Apparently, this isn't his first rodeo. The pie had photos, bank records, hotel receipts, everything. She had been building a case for divorce for months. But here is the part that made my blood run cold. Rebecca said, Henry, I need you to know something. This surrogacy arrangement, it is not legitimate. Aaron isn't paying for a surrogate. He is paying your wife to have his child so he can try to claim it in our divorce proceedings. I had to ask her to repeat that because I thought I would misunderstood. Turns out, Aaron's been planning his divorce for over a year. He has been hiding assets, moving money around, and apparently decided that having a child with my wife would give him some kind of leverage in custody arrangements with his existing kids. Rebecca's lawyer explained that Aaron thinks if he can prove he is supporting additional children, it might reduce his alimony payments. So my wife isn't just a surrogate. She is a pawn in this asshole's divorce strategy. When I confronted Mia about this, she got defensive and said Rebecca was lying to turn us against each other. But then I asked her about the surrogacy contract and she couldn't produce one because there isn't one. There is just Aaron transferring money to her account in exchange for God. I cannot even think about it. The lawyer confirmed what I suspected in Washington state. Any child born during our marriage is legally presumed to be mine unless proven otherwise, which means I could end up financially responsible for Aaron's kid if I don't get this sorted out immediately. I moved out yesterday. I am staying with my buddy Jake while the lawyers figure out how to untangle this mess. Mia's response to me packing my bags. Henry, you are making this so much harder than it needs to be. Cannot you just support me through this? Support her, through her affair pregnancy, with a married man who is using her to manipulate his own divorce. I cannot even wrap my head around how someone I loved, someone I thought I knew could be this. I don't even have words for it. Rebecca and I are working with our lawyers to make sure Aaron faces consequences for this insanity. Turns out what he is doing might actually be fraud, depending on how you look at the financial aspects. The pie has evidence of him promising Mia money that was supposed to go to his actual wife and kids. You guys, I keep thinking about how I spent months feeling like a failure because I couldn't provide for us the way I wanted to. I was working myself to death, barely sleeping, constantly stressed about money. And the whole time, my wife had this backup plan that involved betraying literally everyone in her life. The worst part, she still doesn't think she did anything wrong. When I was loading my stuff into Jake's truck, she said, this could have been good for both of us. Henry, Aaron was going to help with your debt too. Like I would ever want a penny from the man who has been sleeping with my wife. I am meeting with my lawyer again tomorrow to discuss next steps. Rebecca's been incredibly kind through all this, I think she understands what it is like to have your world blown up by someone you trusted. Her divorce is going to be nasty, but at least she will have the pie's evidence. As for me, I am taking this one day at a time. Some days I am angry. Some days I am just sad about what I thought my life was going to be. But you know what? For the first time in months, I am sleeping through the night. Turns out not wondering what your spouse is hiding from you is incredibly good for your mental health. Update 2. Aaron's world is falling apart. Mia's having regrets, and I am actually doing okay. Okay, so remember how I said Rebecca, Aaron's wife, had hired a pie and was building a divorce case? Yeah. Well, that case went nuclear about 3 weeks ago. Turns out, Aaron wasn't just hiding money from Rebecca. He was embezzling from his own car dealerships. The pie uncovered bank records showing Aaron had been moving company funds into personal accounts for almost 2 years. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. Rebecca's divorce lawyer referred the case to the FBI. Aaron got arrested at his office on a Tuesday morning. I know this because Rebecca called me to let me know, and also because it made the local news. Seeing my wife's affair partner getting perp walked out of his luxury car dealership on Channel 7 was surreal, doesn't even begin to cover it. But here is where it gets interesting for my situation. 3 days after Aaron's arrest, Mia called me. First time we had spoken since I moved out. She was crying like ugly, sobbing, and kept saying she had made a mistake. Henry, I didn't know he was married when this started. He told me he was separated. Henry, I thought he was going to leave his wife for me. Henry, I never wanted to hurt you. Lie after lie after lie. I had already seen the pie's timeline. Aaron never told her he was separated. She knew he was married from day one. There are text messages between them joking about having to sneak around his wife. When I called her out on this, she switched tactics. Suddenly, it was Henry. You don't understand the pressure I was under. We were broke and you weren't handling it. That one hit me hard, not gonna lie, because part of me still felt guilty about the financial situation. Even though logically I knew losing my job wasn't my fault. But then she said something that just cleared everything up for me. Henry, I am 14 weeks pregnant, and I have no idea what I am going to do. Aaron will not return my calls and his lawyer told me to stop contacting him. Can you please just come home so we can figure this out together? She wanted me to come home and help her raise another man's child. A child conceived while she was lying to my face every single day. I told her I would think about it, but really, I just needed time to process how completely delusional she would become. Here is the thing though, while my wife's life is imploding, and her sugar daddy is facing federal charges, I have been actually doing really well. That freelance contract I mentioned turned into a full-time offer, better pay than my old job, better benefits, and they are fully remote, which means I can work from anywhere. I had been so focused on trying to save our marriage that I didn't realize how much my career had actually recovered. I found a great therapist who has been helping me work through the betrayal and the guilt I was carrying about our financial problems. Turns out, normal people don't respond to money stress by cheating and getting pregnant with their affair partner's baby. Who knew? My lawyer Sarah has been amazing through all this. We filed for divorce 2 weeks ago. Since Mia is pregnant with another man's child, and there is documented evidence of her affair, Washington state's divorce laws are pretty straightforward about how this goes. Given our short marriage and her documented adultery, my lawyer says spousal maintenance is highly unlikely, and I will not be responsible for Aaron's child once paternity is established through the courts. The surrogacy clinic is in deep shit, by the way. Turns out they never verified that Aaron was actually married to Mia, and they have policies against facilitating surrogacy arrangements that involve adultery. When the FBI started investigating Aaron's finances, they discovered he would paid the clinic with embezzled funds. The clinic is cooperating with investigators and will probably face their own legal issues. But you guys, here is the part that has been weighing on me. Last week, Mia showed up at Jake's place where I am staying. She looked rough. Pregnancy hasn't been kind to her, but more than that, she looked scared, really scared. She told me Aaron's lawyers had contacted her. They want her to sign a document stating that she pursued him, that she knew he was married, and that she was aware the money came from embezzled funds. Basically, they want her to take legal responsibility for their affair to help with Aaron's defense. If she signs it, she might face charges as an accessory to embezzlement. If she doesn't sign it, Aaron's team is threatening to sue her for return of all the money he gave, her money she has already spent. She begged me to let her come home. Promised she would do anything to make it right. Said she realized she loved me and had made the biggest mistake of her life. And you know what I felt? Nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not even satisfaction that karma was catching up with her. Just nothing. I looked at this woman who I had been married to for over a year, who I had planned a future with, who I had worked myself to exhaustion trying to provide for, and I felt like I was looking at a stranger. I told her the divorce papers were already filed and that she needed to get her own lawyer for the Aaron situation. She said she couldn't afford a lawyer. I suggested she call her parents. Turns out, she hadn't told her family about any of this. They still think we are happily married and that she is pregnant with my baby. She has been lying to literally everyone in her life for months. I am not proud of this, but I told her that wasn't my problem anymore. She left crying, and I haven't heard from her since. Here is where I am now. I start my new job on Monday. I am moving into my own apartment next weekend. Nothing fancy, but it is mine, and I can afford it comfortably. I am sleeping better than I have in years. I have been going to the gym again, reading actual books instead of just financial stress articles, even went on a hiking trip with Jake last weekend. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, I feel like myself again, not the stressed, guilty, constantly failing version of myself I would become, but me. The person I was before I got so caught up in trying to save a marriage that was already over. I know some of you might think I am being harsh about Mia. Maybe I should feel sorry for her since she is pregnant and scared and facing legal troubles. But here is the thing: she made these choices. She chose to cheat, chose to lie, chose to get pregnant with another man's baby, chose to take money she knew came from somewhere shady. I didn't choose any of this. I am just choosing how to respond to it, and I am choosing to move forward with my life. The divorce should be final in about 8 weeks. After that, I will be completely free to start over. I am actually excited about that for the first time in, God, maybe years. I will probably update once more when everything is legally settled. But honestly, I am ready to close this chapter and start writing a new one. Final update. Hey Reddit. Henry here with what will probably be my final update on this saga. It has been 4 months since my last post, and honestly, I wasn't sure I had ever write again. But I keep getting messages from people asking how everything turned out, and I realized there might be some value in sharing how the story ends, or really, how my new story begins. The divorce was finalized 2 months ago. Clean break. No alimony, no shared assets to speak of since we had been drowning in debt anyway. I am officially free. Aaron pleaded guilty to embezzlement and fraud charges. He got 7 years in federal prison and has to pay back over $800,000 in restitution. His ex-wife Rebecca got the house and primary custody of their kids. Justice served, I guess. The surrogacy clinic settled out of court with both Rebecca and Mia to avoid criminal charges. They paid Mia's medical expenses and gave her some money to keep quiet about their role in the whole mess. Not a huge amount, but enough to help with the baby. Which brings me to Mia. She had the baby 6 weeks ago, a little girl. She named her Emma. I know this because Mia's sister reached out to me. Apparently, Mia had a really difficult birth complications that required an emergency C-section and extended hospital stay. She has no relationship with Aaron. Her parents cut her off when they found out about the affair and the circumstances of the pregnancy, and she has been pretty much alone through everything. Her sister asked if I would consider visiting Mia in the hospital, said. Mia had been asking about me and wondering how I was doing. I thought about it for exactly 30 seconds and said no. I know that might sound cold to some of you, but here is what I have learned over these past 8 months. I spent so much of my marriage trying to fix problems that weren't mine to fix, trying to save someone who didn't want to be saved, trying to be enough for someone who was never going to think I was enough. I am not responsible for the consequences of Mia's choices. I am not responsible for her loneliness, her financial problems, or her regrets. And I am sure as hell not responsible for cleaning up the mess she made of her life while she was destroying mine. That probably sounds harsh, but it is honest. And I have learned that sometimes being honest is more important than being nice. So what am I doing with my life now? Well, remember that freelance job that turned into a full-time offer? 6 months in, they promoted me to senior engineer. I am making more money than I ever made at my old company. I love the work, and my team actually values what I bring to the table. Funny how much easier it is to excel at your job when you are not going home to someone who makes you feel like a failure every day. I am living in a great apartment in Fremont now. Nothing fancy, but it is mine. I wake up every morning and make coffee in my own kitchen. And there is no one there to tell me I am doing it wrong, or that I should have bought the expensive beans instead. I have been dating. Nothing serious yet, but I am meeting people and remembering what it feels like to have conversations with someone who actually enjoys my company. Last month, I went out with Sarah, a teacher I met at a bookstore, and when I told her about my day at work, she listened and asked follow-up questions, instead of rolling her eyes and changing the subject. It was such a small thing, but it reminded me that relationships don't have to be an endurance test. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with during my marriage. Turns out, when your wife constantly criticizes your friends and makes social gatherings uncomfortable, you tend to isolate yourself without realizing it. These guys welcomed me back like no time had passed, and now I have a regular poker game and hiking group again. I started therapy not just to deal with the betrayal, but to understand how I ended up in a relationship where I was constantly apologizing for existing. My therapist helped me see that I had been confusing love with the need to prove my worth to someone who was never going to appreciate what I offered. But here's the most important thing I have learned. I have stopped waiting for someone to choose me. I have chosen myself. For years, both in my marriage and probably before, I was so focused on being worthy of other people's love that I forgot to make sure they were worthy of mine. I was so busy trying to be good enough that I never stopped to ask if the person I was trying to impress was actually good for me. Mia didn't cheat on me because I wasn't providing enough or because I failed as a husband. She cheated because that is who she is. Someone who prioritizes her immediate desires over the people who love her. Someone who lies when it is convenient and blames others when her choices have consequences. I couldn't have worked harder, made more money, or been more supportive to change that about her, because the problem was never me. That realization has changed everything about how I approach relationships now. I am not trying to prove myself worthy of love anymore. I am evaluating whether the people in my life are worthy of the love I have to give. It is a completely different way of existing in the world.